7.7 and 7.6 magnitude earthquakes struck the city of Kahramanmaras and devastated 11 provinces in Turkiye on February 6. Local and international aid poured into the country's southeast as the extensive damage claimed over 50,000 lives. The quakes have affected around 14 million people. But what has changed since the tragedy occurred almost a year ago? In November, the parliament passed a law to speed up the process of urban transformation as more than 600,000 houses were destroyed. Many earthquake survivors have filed lawsuits against their landlords and contractors claiming deliberate negligence and seeking compensation for their losses. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says as the construction of 250,000 houses continues, some will be delivered before the new year. While the quakes have cost Turkey more than $100 billion, the government is also pushing for projects focusing on disaster response strategies and technological advancements. But will these measures be enough to prepare for a possible earthquake in Istanbul? And for more on Turkey's recovery efforts from the February 6 earthquakes, joining me now from Bingöl, Turkiye, is Kenan Akbayram. He is the head of the Natural Disaster Research Center. And from Ankara, Klaus Jürgens, he is a political analyst. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Kenan, the twin earthquakes which hit Turkey's south on February the 6th, were the worst in the country's modern history. How have efforts to recover from the earthquakes played out so far? What does the region look like at the moment?
The rubble has largely removed, but the destruction of heavily damaged buildings continues in 11 cities. Many permanent housing constructions continue. Nevertheless, unfortunately, there is still a population living in temporary containers and tents. This is because nearly 37,000 buildings collapsed during the earthquake, and more than 300,000 buildings became unusable due to the heavy damage. And the strategy and budget directors of Turkey published a report that the total cost of the earthquake on the Turkish economy is more than $100 billion. It shows how devastating the cost. Yeah. And this cost corresponds to approximately 9% of Turkey's 2023 national income.
Mm-hmm. So, Klaus, you have also been to the region after the earthquake struck. How has the international humanitarian response to both to Turkey and Syria earthquakes been to date so far?
Yes, hello, thanks for being back. And this topic is dear to my heart. I actually went back after our first show and went to other places, sad, shocking. And then what really got me is this unbelievable willpower of the people down there and the Turkish nation to get it, whatever is the right word, back on track, trying to get a certain normality. Well, the international response was very, very promising and encouraging. I do not want to give a list of countries now, who was the first and who came later. Rescue teams were sent, money was sent, logistics teams were sent, and everyone knew that this is an international catastrophe and everyone has to work together. Now, what is really the interesting dimension now, after so many months, and my dear esteemed colleague just mentioned, of course, reconstruction cannot happen overnight. Now, a number of international cooperation projects are actually taking place. Mm-hmm. You mentioned in the pre-run China, of course, but there are many others in the pipeline. And if I still have time in the second round, I want to talk about the subject of smart cities and green and cleaner cities coming out of a catastrophe and building back better. But yes, the international response was encouraging and very, very, very welcome. From small countries who could not send more than a little amount of money, some teams, to the big countries who sent everything and everyone they could literally get over there. Yes. So,
Kenan, Klaus said reconstruction cannot happen overnight, but we know that Turkey's and Chinese academics are focusing on innovative earthquake response strategies using technological advancements. Could you elaborate on that? What do you make of these projects? What difference could they make?
Following the earthquake, this bilateral cooperation program between the Research Council of Turkey and Natural Science Foundation of China it's improved so many things. So far, more than 8 projects, ranging from recycling demolition waste to advancing post-earthquake strategies and technology, have been supported. I mean, the results or the effects of these projects will occur soon. That's what I believe. And fortunately, in near future, we will get the good results of these projects. And here in Bingöl, as a center of energy, the environment, and natural disasters, we also just writing some drafts of the project to understand the future earthquake hazards, not only for Bingöl, but also for the earthquake affected regions during the Kahramanmaras earthquake. And in this context, we as university, Bingöl University, our rector, Professor Ibrahim Çapak, have meetings in Czech Republic. Our discussions with the experts in geophysics department of Czech Academy of Sciences continue, and we would like to determine the next earthquake magnitudes with the geophysical methods, and hopefully it will help future risk and seismic hazard analysis that Turkey always will need. Mm-hmm.
So, Klaus, almost a year into these devastating events, where do you think Turkey stand in terms of earthquake preparedness? I mean, as you've just briefly mentioned, is it through by building smart cities?
Well, of course, the earthquakes, as good as they can be perhaps predicted, you can't really predict them. Sure. And it is impossible to say tomorrow at 5 o'clock it is going to happen. God forbid it will never happen again on a small or big scale. Now, I think the preparedness of Turkey has greatly increased because it is still seen as a natural disaster which can never be planned, which can never be ruled out. But you can be prepared, you must be prepared. And I think this is what the current government is doing via reinforcing existing constructions. But my point is really, we have such a huge young generation. Turkey is an amazing young population. New houses are built everywhere, new constructions are built everywhere, companies, private houses, schools, hospitals. And my biggest wish is that all what Turkey knows now about earthquake preparedness, as you said, is put into all construction plans, all the architects, the mimaler, everyone must work together. And yes, this brings me to my last point, half a minute. It is not only about reconstructing the way we used to build. I think what we can, for example, where I spent quite some time now up in the Nordic countries and Sweden in particular, what we can learn is how to have smart cities, how to build them resilient against disasters as much as possible, but at the same time, how to build them sustainable, how to build neighborhoods, 15, 20 minutes, and everything is in walking reach.
So again, on a magnitude 4.1 earthquake struck northwestern Turkey a few days ago. It was also felt across neighboring provinces, especially in Istanbul, which is on a major fault line. So is it likely to generate stress on the North Anatolian fault zone? Because it's one of the most frequently asked questions, especially by Istanbul residents.
I mean, the medium or small size earthquakes cannot generate any more stresses that is already there. We've been waiting the next earthquakes, the big earthquakes. I mean, maybe 6.9, maybe more than 7, maybe till 7.6 earthquake in Marmara region, and stress is there. I mean, right now, if there is a big earthquake over there, it cannot surprise the earth science community. And this is, again, can occur all around Turkey. Let's say Izmir and Bingöl, let's say Kayseri. I mean, I don't want to give some more details not to scare people, but I couldn't agree more. We should be ready for the next seismic hazard. We should check for next seismic risks for Turkey, and for doing that, we have to work. We have to collaborate with engineers, scientists, and city planners To conclude, seismic hazard analysis is the basis of risk assessment. Seismic risk require cooperative efforts among all of the disciplines.
Yes. All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.